Will you pray with me? Still speaking God, open our hearts and minds that we might hear the words you have for us this day in this place. Amen. The musical Into the Woods, based on the book by James Lapine, premiered on Broadway in 1987, November 5th. It won 3 Tony Awards, including Best Score, Best Book, and Best Actress in a Musical. In 2002, it won another Tony for Best Broadway Revival. And the movie version came out Christmas Day of last year. And I was there. I love this show. The play weaves together 7 fairy tales, putting characters from each of the tales into the woods. They are Red Riding Hood, Granny, and the Wolf, Cinderella and her prince, Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, his mother and 2 giants, and Rapunzel and her prince. The 3 original characters in the play are a baker, his wife, and a witch who has put a spell on them. Like most fairy tales, our characters are sheltered and naive, but when they get to the woods, they meet folks who are not at all like them. They're called on to make decisions they're really not prepared to make. And they're finally forced to face the consequences of their actions. So it begins with the witch putting a spell on the baker's family. And that's because when the baker's mother was pregnant, to satisfy her food cravings, his father went to the witch's garden and stole greens and magic beans. That's all she wanted was greens and beans. Well, the witch did not like that. And as punishment, she took their daughter, Rapunzel, and she made the baker infertile. Well, the baker and his wife beg her to undo the spell so they can have a child. And she says, okay, if you bring me these 4 items before the chime of midnight in 3 days' time. 1, a cow as white as milk. 2, a cape as red as blood. 3, hair as yellow as corn. And 4, a slipper as pure as gold. Even if you haven't seen the play or the movie, I bet you can guess how this is going to go. Jack has the cow, Red Riding Hood has the cape, Rapunzel has the hair, and Cinderella has the slipper. But because they're from different fairy tales, they don't know each other. Well, we soon learned that the primary character flaw of everybody in the woods is self-centeredness, which causes them to be greedy and deceitful and ignore the needs of everyone but themselves. As you heard in the modern lesson, they sing, "Into the woods to get our wish. We don't care how. The time is now." The baker's wife tells him, we must do whatever is necessary to get these items to reverse the spell to have a child. And she says, if you know what you want, then you go and you find it and you get it, or you'll live to regret it. If the thing you do is pure intent and it's just a little bent, does it matter? So the baker deceives Jack by giving him only 5 of the 6 beans, and later he breaks his promise to sell the cow back. Red Riding Hood disregards her mother's warning to stay on the path and never stray, because she finds the wolf both scary and exciting. Later, She goads Jack into going back up the beanstalk just to prove to her that there really is a golden harp. The witch not only stole Rapunzel from her parents, but she keeps her locked up in a tower. And when she finds that she's not enough company for Rapunzel, that Rapunzel's actually in love with the prince, she banishes her and blinds the prince. Cinderella is passive-aggressive with her prince, running away twice, and the third time purposely leaving a slipper so that she doesn't have to be the one to decide what to do about the relationship. They all refuse to help Jack's mother with the first giant, and both princes, and the baker's wife cheat on their spouses just because they can and they want to. At the end of Act 1, everybody has gotten what they want, and they are very proud of themselves. They sing, "We've reached the right conclusions and we got what we deserve. To be happy and forever, you must see your wish come true. Don't be careful, don't be clever. When you see your wish, pursue. It's a dangerous endeavor, but the only thing to do." Again, you can probably guess what happens in Act 2. They are all smacked in the face with the consequences of their actions, and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. No one is satisfied with the wish they were granted. Then the second giant, the wife of the one Jack killed, comes to revenge her husband by killing Jack. And they're all drawn back into the woods. This time, bad things happen. Lots of bad things. So, of course, they blame each other.
Get this boy to the giant before we're all so much dead meat.
No, you keep away from him.
This is no time to be soft-hearted. He's going to the giant, and I'm taking
Yes! Yes, he's the one to blame! It's because of you there's a giant in our midst, and my wife is dead.
But it isn't my fault. I was given those beans. You persuaded me to trade away my cow for beans, and without those beans, there'd have been no stalk to get up to the giants in the first place.
Wait a minute, magic beans for a cow so old that you had to tell a lie to sell it, which you told. Were they worthless beans? Were they oversold? Or tell us who persuaded you to steal that gold?
See, it's your fault.
No.
So it's your fault?
No.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
It's true.
Wait a minute, but I only stole the gold to get my cow back from you.
So it's your fault.
Yes.
No, it isn't. I'd have kept those beans, but our house was cursed. She made us get a cow to get the curse reversed.
It's your father's fault that the curse got placed and the place got cursed in the first place. Oh, then it's his fault.
So it was his fault.
No.
Yes, it is. It's his.
I guess.
Wait a minute, though. I chopped on the beanstalk, right? That's clear. But without any beanstalk, then what's queer is how did the second giant get down here in the first place? Second place.
Yes. How?
Well, who had the other bean?
The other bean?
The other
You
bean?
pocketed the other bean.
I didn't. Yes, I did.
So it's yours.
No, it isn't, because I gave it to my wife.
So it's hers.
No, it isn't.
Whose is it?
Wait a minute. She exchanged that bean to obtain your shoe, so the one who knows what happened to the bean is you.
You mean that old bean that's your wife? Oh dear, but I never knew, and so it's well, don't look here.
So it's your fault.
But
See, it's her fault, and it isn't mine at all.
But what?
So if you hadn't gone back up again,
You were needy.
You were greedy. Did you need that hen?
But I got it for my mother.
So it's her fault,
So
then.
what about the harm in the third place?
Harp, yes.
You wouldn't dare me to.
I dare you to.
dared me to. She said that I was scared to. You dared me.
No, I didn't. Wait a minute.
You hadn't dared him to.
You had left the harp alone.
Well, if you hadn't thrown away the bean in the first place, she hadn't raised it in the first place.
Raised it in the first
Raised the beans in the first place.
You're responsible. You're the one to blame. It's your fault.
I must tell you that when David finished captioning that on Friday after several laborious hours, he declared no more Stephen Sondheim. So they all blame each other, but it's through the unraveling of everything that they learn some valuable lessons. The main one being that they are all connected. They are intertwined. The interconnectedness of them and of all of life is expressed in the song, no one is alone, which we're going to hear in a little bit. Excuse me. For the first time, they finally get out of their inner worlds of self and join together to help save Jack. Why were all these characters so self-centered? I think it's because life had taught them that they really were alone, that they couldn't trust anyone. And I think we often feel the same way. Excuse me. Especially in America, we are raised to be rugged individualists. It's the world against me. The world that wants something from me. The world that threatens my thinking and my belief. We rarely see beyond our individual egos. We don't always trust that there's a God who guides us. We're like the Israelites in our First Testament lesson. God had liberated them from Egypt in slavery and brought them on a journey to their own promised land. But he's out of their immediate sight for just a minute, and they decide they'd be better off to make a new God, basically worshiping themselves, creating a golden calf by melting their jewelry. In their minds, they could make a god out of whoever they wanted. And you know, we do the same thing. We worship the false gods of power and money, doing whatever we need to do to get ahead. We spend time and money on things we don't need while ignoring the real needs of others. We too distrust our fellow human beings, especially those who are not like us, who are another race or color or religion. Donald Trump is the front runner of the Republican candidates for presidency. And he daily makes statements like this, with some incorrect grammar, I might say. I will build a great wall, and nobody builds better walls than me, and I'll build them very inexpensively. I'll build a great wall on the southern border, and I will make Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. And people flock to hear him and cheer him on. Why would we be on this planet together if we weren't meant to work together, to depend on each other, to be together? That's what our epistle reading says. Now you are the body of Christ, and each of you is a part of it. The members of the body have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer with it. If one member is honored, all rejoice with it. As Brittany said, that passage is from a letter that Paul wrote to the church at Corinth, where competing influences were causing division and strife. And he was reminding them that a body of a person or an organization depends on all the parts working together. Theologian Frederick Buechner said this about the passage. God was making a body for Christ, Paul said. Christ didn't have a regular body anymore, so God was making him one out of anybody he could find who looked as if he just might possibly do. God was using other people's hands to be Christ's hands and other people's feet to be Christ's feet. And when there was some place where Christ was needed in a hurry and needed bad, God put the finger on some maybe not all that innocent bystander and got him to go and be Christ in that place for lack of anybody better. We are not perfect. but we are all God has. When the characters in our story do decide to work together, they expand their minds and their hearts beyond their assumptions and their prejudices. They learn that they most likely will get hurt when they start depending on each other. People leave. People die. But this time, they pull together to help each other through those losses. Cinderella stays with the baker and his baby, and they take in Jack and Red Riding Hood. In community, they are wiser, happier, more giving, and more loving. What if all of us, everyone in the church and everyone in the world, knew in our hearts that we are not alone? Would it help us to have more empathy and compassion for the other members of the body? Would it push us to go into each other's pain and suffering, to be willing to feel rather than just observe? The first thing Jesus did after he got baptized was go into the desert for a time of self-discernment. The second thing he did was to go and find his community, because he knew how important it was. They were nowhere near perfect. Most of them let him down at one time or another. But they were his people, his tribe, until his death. They stayed together after he died. And eventually, they became the church. They became Christ's body. And that is all of us together. Amen.